Hey, Techno Studs. And when I say studs, I mean both students and you are awesome. Thanks for joining me in these videos. In this module, we're going to get into OSPF Multiaccess Networks. Now, OSPF is great for communicating all of our routing information back and forth between routers. So if we've got two devices that are set up and they're connected point to point, then they're communicating that information back and forth, which is exactly what we want, and there's not really any problem. However, what does create a problem is if we have lots of routers that are connected to the same multi-access network, and they create a neighborship with all of those other routers and try to update all of those other routers. And this becomes problematic because now we're swamping our network with so much OSPF messages with all of these routers trying to update all the other routers. So what we do is we elect a designated router that will be the main communicator, and all of the updates go to that designated router, and then that designated router then updates all of the other routers. That's a multi-access network. So in this module, let's get into OSPF multi-access networks and how we solve the problem of too much communication going on these multi-access networks. We're going to kick this module off getting into what are designated routers or DRs and what are backup designated routers or BDRs. We'll talk about the differences between the two and the process of that election. We'll also get into the different OSPF states and what happens when they do make neighborship and connection. We'll also get into setting router ID and priority. Because what's going to happen is they're going to elect a designated router, and what we might want to do is have a specific router as the designated router. So in that case, we may need to adjust the router ID or priority of that router. So we'll take a look at what that looks like. There are times when we are interconnecting with a multi-access network, Ethernet, between two different devices. However, there's just two devices on it. It's point to point. And so we'll take a look at configuring an Ethernet as a point to point. And so that way those two devices don't have to go through this whole election process and elect a DR and backup designated router and all of that. And then we'll finish things off talking about a loopback as a network.